My name is Optimus Prime. No, I can resist that.
So how you think I sound?
Hello, everyone. It's me. It's Primetime Moff, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, the ever incredible, the ever popular, the ever knowledgeable Oddimus Prime. And now, whether you're watching us or indeed listening to us, we welcome you to our weekly show, Transformers 84 to 24, 40 years of rolling out. A show that in the year of the brand's 40th anniversary, we're taking a look back, we're delving through the vast history of the Transformers. We're now up to 2011. We're getting closer to the end, although it feels like it's always going on and it'll never end, which is a good thing. Will it ever end? So if you're new to the show, we're covering each year of the franchise its own weekly episode, and we kind of do special episodes throughout the year as well on things like TF Nation or TF UK Con, or there was just some cool news this week. So please like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, sure you don't miss anything in this incredible journey. Simon, how are you?
I'm doing good, Mr. Moore. Very good indeed.
Good,
How are
good,
you?
good. I'm very well. I'm excited. Next weekend is TFN Minicon Reading. I am excited and stressed at the same time, but probably more excited than anything. And it's interesting because this is the third Minicon, and I've heard the organisers talk about it. It's the third new venue. So having done TF UK Con, I understand that aspect. Once you've had a venue twice, you kind of know where things are, where the plug sockets are. I heard Billy say that, and I thought, such a simple thing, but it's so hugely important.
Yeah.
So, I'm in the same boat. Don't know where our stall is. Don't know what our table setup looks like. And that makes a big difference. In fact, actually, none of the ones we've run, we've been in the same bit. Whether it be the two TF UK cons, the three mini cons, the two TFNs, uh, our table setup's been different every one. So I've never had that. Right, okay, I know what we're going to do. I know where we're at. So I'm comfortable enough that I know how to set up the kind of small table setup, and I have wonderful help on hand to make sure that I don't break down.
Yeah,
I
Andy's
just need
very
to do a
helpful.
wee. I need to do the simple things of taking stuff this tonight and just make sure everything's sorted. But no, it's exciting. Got some really cool new toys picked up specifically for the event. The house has been crazy this week with deliveries. I thought at one point the wife was going to punch me because every day I was coming home and there was just piles upon piles of boxes, which is great. It is like the fun bit of it. So, but I'm looking forward to this episode. I'm looking forward to chatting about Dark of the Moon,
Mhm.
and some of the toys that were released this year are really good. Not as many really, really good toys as we've had maybe in previous ones, so I kind of struggled a wee bit more in my top five, but um, I really enjoyed Dark of the Moon as a movie, so I enjoy that aspect of it. How about you? How are you feeling for it?
I still have this weird thing that I didn't quite twig when looking back that the movies are only spaced 2 years apart. I can't believe that we're at 2011. It's only 4 years since the first one came out, and we're on the third film. Wait, 2000.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right. That's right. Weirdly, um, 5 years. Maths. Oh, I'm carrying two. Yeah, shut up.
Two years to 2009, two further years to 2011. That makes it easier. But if you do 2011 divided by minus 2007, you think, go 4 years, that's not right.
Yep,
It
yep. Maths
does make
and the way
sense, don't worry.
numbers work. Okay, yeah. Anyway,
But
it's been
yeah,
a
like
long
we
week.
moved, we
Yeah,
waited so long for it for a movie,
yeah,
and then at this point you're spoiled. Like it
yeah,
becomes a every 2 years we're getting a Transformers movie, and it's obviously not that now. But at that point it was like every
yeah.
2 years we're getting a Transformers movie and varying quality, but we're getting one. Like still a cool. I think I said this before. Every Transformers film I've went to see, I still have the wee pinch myself moment of I'm sitting in a cinema, I'm watching my favourite thing in the world on the big screen. Now,
Yeah.
yes, there'll be bits of the quality of each of the films. Listen, every film has got its flaw. Even the original film has a flaw, just the one. But I always try and kind of with the positives of if my number one franchise, for example, was Mask, I have nothing.
Yeah.
I should sit and be grateful for what I have. Yes, I'd like it to be different for me, but very much so with the films, more than anything else, they were incredibly successful.
Yeah.
And that has meant that the brand is something that Hasbro will never not invest in
Yeah.
because it makes them money. So whilst there might be bits I don't like or aspects of the story or things or even just the toys I don't like, I'm okay with it and accept it because it means I get to have all the other things that I get in the franchise. And honestly, I think we kind of forget that aspect of it. There's
Yeah.
so you've seen my room. There's so many of the stuff I love that I just don't get in here. There's nothing of. I feel spoiled just now because there's so much amazing 80s goodies out there. This year has been one of the best years ever as a collector.
Yeah.
For other franchises, including Transformers, it's been great. But I think at this point, 2011, that wasn't the case. There was definitely there was no part of me thought there's a chance of a mask refresh. There's a chance of a Thundercat. Well, okay, Thundercats did have a kind of refresh at that point. That was a poor choice. But Toxic Crusaders, I've had new Toxic Crusaders this last 12 months.
Yeah.
All these kind of toy lines there was no part of me thought we were going to get 2011. So I very much went into this. I'm grateful to have what I have. But Dark of the Moon's probably of the original kind of Bayverse 5. I think that's my second favourite.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think also the other thing with the Transformers movies is that they sort of really invigorated that, and Star Wars really invigorated that sort of whole era that we are still kind of in, of the nostalgia
Yeah.
sort of bubble, as particularly for 80s and 90s stuff, which means we're constantly getting refreshed versions of 80s and 90s properties. Not necessarily everything, Masks, Centurions, Visionaries, some of my real favorite ones from that
Yes, yeah,
era.
yeah. They were great
Completely
examples.
just, I think some of them are sort of tied up in rights issues and everything else. And Mask, I never understand because Mask hasn't got any rights issues and it just gets just ignored.
Well, let's
But
see. Well, it's coming. Loyal
I,
subjects, like
I
you got to remember
yeah,
that. But
yeah,
you're right. The other examples you gave, Centurions or Visionaries or Brave Star.
yeah.
Easily we could sit. You and I could sit and do 10 cartoons that deserve something in this modern era and haven't. And it's like, why not? Like, why not? But you see, everything else is done gangbusters money
Yeah.
wise. So why not? But yeah.
Yeah, but as I say, Dark of the Moon, it's a really good example of this sort of lost track of what I was saying. Might edit this bit out.
You
But yeah,
won't.
so Dark of the Moon it's a really good film on a lot of levels in that they started listening a little bit more to the fans in terms of trying to keep the property a little bit more like what the fans wanted. So you got
Yeah.
stuff in there like you see Cybertron at the start. You have the whole a glimpse of the war. You've got some fan favorite characters in there, not necessarily perfectly executed, but they are in there. And the storyline is sort of G1-esque in terms of its completely bonkers nature, and also it was sort of semi taken from a G1 cartoon storyline. So there's lots of good stuff going for it at this point. And also I think this was the biggest one. No, Revenge of the Fours was the biggest one. This is the second biggest one. But yeah. What do you like about Dark of the Moon?
Um, Soundwave's got an awesome alt mode, like really nice alt mode. And I, when you go to throw the things out, like Soundwave's a tape player, always will be in my head. I don't need that to be the case for the movies because it doesn't really make sense. Like, give
No.
them something funky. The satellite was kind of a clever way to have it. Like, I did not like that, but um, it just looks cool as a
Yeah,
Mercedes some SLE or something. I don't know. I'm not good with car,
that's
car
okay.
makes.
Um,
SLK.
but
Um,
also it had a in-story purpose
yeah,
for him being that
yeah.
car, and that
Yes,
was
that's a great point. Yeah, like, and that I think that's taken for granted. Some of the
yeah,
stuff in the movies, it's like we understand that they'll have made money out of Mercedes. There'll be a partnership. There'll be let's do something together. We definitely know that was the case in the first film. It
yeah,
was all over it. So I don't grudge that. Again, like it's how these things get made. It's absolutely
Mm.
commercially understand that when I look at it from that side of it. You're right. It has a I think storyline plot aspect to it as well. I love the Wreckers. No, not everybody's taste, but you know they were fun. Like same as I I am the minority of loving the twins in the last film. Like I enjoyed the fun aspect of it. No, there's so much of it. My mum wanted to go see it. She only wanted to go see it for what's his name? Is it Patrick Dempsey? Is that the
Yeah, yeah,
fella?
yeah.
That my mum has got a picture of Patrick Dempsey on the inside of her cupboard where she gets her tea in the morning, so that because she sees him every day. She loves him. She absolutely loves him. So she's like, I'm going to come see a Transformers film with you. I was like, no, you're not. I'm not going to see it with you. You can go see it, not with me. um,
Um,
but it's probably the first film that I didn't jump on buying the toys with. And the opposite end, like I first film I bought loads of them because I was like, oh my god, I've got a Transformers movie. I need to own these toys. The second one, there's quite a few of them I bought. I didn't buy so much. I bought the Wreckers and I bought a Soundwave, and that was really all I really kind of bought. I never didn't feel the urge for the rest. I have picked up things since, and like when B&M's or Home Bargains got them cheap,
mm.
I would pick things up because I like cheap toys. But I didn't have the same urge to go and buy things off the shelf. And I think that's maybe because, by that point you're, 5 years or whatever, however we worked at the maths being, when you're at this point you've seen them on the shelf because they've never been a break. I think that
Yeah,
had a negative impact.
yeah.
We talked about it in the two gap years where there wasn't a movie, but there was movie toys. There's no gap of the movie toys not being on. So you're not then going, oh, I now need to get a new Optimus or I need to get a new X kind of on. I did like Megatrons. I did like Megatron. I always wanted
Yes.
a Dark of the Moon Megatron figure. I've never done it because I've
It's
never seen one that made me go, "I that's the one." But
it's
I
a
like that almost.
the Voyager class version is really nice. I think there's a new age one just come out that's quite sex. Might be new age, can't remember. There's a third party one that's really, really nice. But yeah, I know what you mean with the toys. I think I had also slowed down a wee bit on the movie stuff at this point. I didn't really get taken by the mech tech gimmick,
The
and
gimmick, yeah.
that sort of had an impact. I mean, they had the Ultimate Optimus Prime out that year, and I hated that. But back to the film, just briefly.
Mhm.
Things that I really like about that film. Prime gets his trailer,
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
and his trailer does something. Turns into that awesome weapon arch with all of his weapons.
yeah.
We get Shockwave, who was really cool, but massively underused and not anything like Shockwave, unfortunately. The big driller thing, which, I mean, that was only in the film because Michael Bay had some ideas about crushing buildings or something, which he is actually,
It
regardless of
looks
what you
cool.
think about, it's an absolutely amazing scene. And it was
Yes,
done. I mean, if you've seen any of the behind the scenes stuff on that, when they actually tipped that whole set
that's
sideways, it's a
awesome.
gigantic set, and yeah, that is awesome.
And see what you like. Michael Bay makes blockbusters. Like
Oh yeah,
these
he does.
these I've always said there's certain films that you have to see in the cinema.
Yeah,
Whether you like it or not, the best way to view the Transformers film was always in the cinema. The Transformers, the original film was the first film I bought on. It was HD DVD. I went with first. Clearly, that was a successful venture. But again, a similar vein, these films are even better. Like than you'd watch them on DVD to a Blu-ray. There's always upscale bits, but the aspect of seeing those films in the cinema with all the surround sound, he makes blockbuster movies,
yeah,
and they were summer blockbuster movies.
exactly. They're bombastic. They're eye candy. They're great to look at, even if you can't always tell what's going on in the action scenes. Um, and yeah, they are what they are. And they suited, and I probably get hate for this, but they suited the Transformers franchise
Yes,
for that period. And again, I said it to death. We're never going to get the exactly the Cybertron based Transformers movie that was sort of teased at the beginning of Dark of the Moon, but then done way better in Bumblebee. There's, it's just not gonna happen. I
No, A, it
really wish
cost a
it would.
fortune. A, it
Yeah,
cost a fortune, and B, in the nicest way, we've just saw a film that is the only film, only Transformers film without humans,
yeah,
and it wasn't successful. And I would argue that it is likely, the sequel to that would likely be that kind of film of the
oh
kind
yeah,
of war and
definitely.
stuff.
Yeah,
If this setting it up doesn't do well, why would this? Why would the sequel that kind of almost needs you to have known that beforehand do well?
yeah,
I'm not convinced it would do gangbusters, and I think that's a shame
yeah,
because I'm like you. I'd love to see it. I think most of the fandom would love to see it.
yeah,
Problem is, it can't. These films won't survive on just the fandom, and even the
no,
fandom doesn't. There's so many people I've seen. I was waiting for the home video. I'd heard it, it was
oh,
struggling. I was waiting for home video. Well, it's struggling because we are in an era where people go, oh, just wait. And
yeah,
actually, I very much when it's a film franchise or a film, something I want to do well, I'm like, I'll back it. You can
yeah,
only
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if you don't back it, you can't then go, can't believe it never was successful. You need to get on the bandwagon with it.
Good example of that recently was Dungeons and Dragons. Did you see that at the cinema?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, great film.
Because
Lots of
I want the
fun.
franchise to do
Yeah,
well.
exactly. It was a great film. It was loads of
And it
fun.
and it was a good film. It really
Yeah,
was. I
it
actually really
really
enjoyed
was
it.
really enjoyable. And it universally, more or less, was praised. It was liked by Dungeons and Dragons fans. It was liked by film reviewers and stuff like that. They all found it fun. There was enough aspects in there to keep people sort of interested and stuff. And it bombed at the cinema, but it's done really, really well on streaming and stuff like that. So, it's not it's unlikely it'll ever get a sequel, at least not that iteration of it. But it's such a shame because it was such a good movie. But Transformers 1 is having almost that exactly the same thing, which Dark of the
Yeah.
Moon did not suffer from because loads of
Christ,
people went and
no,
saw it
no.
because it was aimed at a universal audience. People who
Yes.
like action movies, girls like Patrick Dempsey, or women like Patrick Dempsey. Um,
I don't think my mum classed a girl at that point.
yeah, yeah. Well, actually,
Oh,
that's a fairly wrong thing to say. People like Patrick Dempsey, because, quite frankly, it doesn't necessarily matter what your gender is. I feel he's one of those universal likes. Um, and
my dad doesn't like him.
well, yeah,
Funny.
but he doesn't like him because your mum likes him. um, but obviously, uh, Megan Fox was replaced because she said something about Michael Bay, and that was fun. We won't go into that. But yeah, so the cast, and also the other thing you sort of forget about these films is the cast in them. They end up with like absolutely bonkers A-list celebrities in these daft
I
robot
know.
movies.
I
I
know.
mean, there's an entire plot line in this film that I completely forget exists, but the things with Laserbeak and you got um,
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Ken
Kim Kim Dong.
Ken
Oh
Long,
yeah. Oh
and
yeah. I never
John
remember his name.
Malkovich. John Malkovich is in this. Alan Tudyk
Yes.
is in this.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, he's just one that's out
Yes.
Alan Tudyk's in, isn't it? He's the
Yeah. Yeah.
the
He's the assistant.
yeah
He's his assistant.
the
Thing's
German
assistant.
assistant. Is it German or some kind of European anyway? But yeah,
Yeah, I think he
uh,
plays it.
but yeah, bonkers that they're. I forget they're in it because it's not part of the main
Yes.
plot. uh,
It's almost a movie that's a movie of two halves.
yeah,
It's like the first bit of the movies, all the espionage, the laser beak and hood, all the different bits, and then the second half's they're taking over the planet and how do they stop them? It very
yeah,
much feels like two movies in one.
yeah. It really does. And yeah, but it's a great film, and it builds upon the lore that they've established in the other films. It also completely contradicts a huge chunk of the
Oh,
lore that they've established in the previous films.
but then
But at
so
the
do the next ones as
oh
well.
yeah, exactly.
We've been here for this point. No, no, we've been here for this point. No, 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 we've been here for this point. No, in fact,
Yeah,
we created the Earth. Like,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
shh.
Continuity is not this series' strong point. Um, but yeah, but there's an awesome action scene at the end. The whole battle for Chicago is amazing, and
It's
Prime has an awesome standoff with Sentinel Prime, and then Megatron. And I just love the fact that he takes down Sentinel Prime, and Megatron's like, haha, yes, it's always me and you. Yeah, we can never blah blah blah.
yeah.
And then Prime just decapitates him.
It's like what would
Um,
you what is it? What's the line? Is it something like
give me your
what,
face.
no? Is it
Oh,
not?
sorry.
Is
No.
it not the what would you be without me? And it's
Yes,
like
let's find out.
let's find out. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah,
But,
this Prime is not G1 Prime. This Prime is you push my buttons too much. Now I'm going to just pull off your face. Um, yeah, he's very murdery. Um, but yeah, so yeah. Anyway, let's leave.
one last big point that we kind of need to talk about, Simon. It's your big favorite bit to talk about. Go for it.
Yeah. So I completely didn't forget, but Leonard Nimoy. It's got Leonard Nimoy in it. Um, who obviously voiced Galvatron in the original movie and now is voiced in Sentinel Prime. And it was just so amazing to just hear him back on the screen.
It was.
I mean, Leonard Nimoy was just a legend anyway. But yeah, that was just a really nice thing that I meant to mention earlier on, but forgot.
No, and it's
Right.
good. Sentinel Prime was it was an interesting character, but when he turns, and like
Yeah.
talked about the murdering aspects, like more bots die in this film surely than the other two.
Yeah.
Like Ironhide's death, pretty gruesome. Like what a horrible way to go.
Honestly upset me at the cinema because Ironhide
Yeah,
is my favorite Bayverse.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
And
I
then
agree.
he's just murdered and melts in front of you on the screen. And it was like, oh, he'll be fine. Oh no, he's not fine. Oh, he's dead.
Yeah. But
Brilliant.
just all those wee kind of those that bit where the movie pivots, really clever. Oh, I do think it almost goes a little bit too quick. It's like
Mm,
we went for here and we're now here, like dramatically changing. But also the film is long; it couldn't be any longer.
oh
So
no.
kind of pacing wise, they fitted a lot into that film. Really, when you look back, as you say, it is kind of almost like two short films in one. Like it
Yeah.
does, it really push in. But anyway, the other aspect Kevin, that we touched on last week, and obviously more happens this year, is Prime. So Transformers Prime, universally one of the most popular of the Transformers
Hmm.
cartoons. Um, one of the more adult versions, like it's certainly not aimed at 5 and 6 year olds.
No.
Like, in fact, this year we've got toys coming out for Rescue Bots, which certainly is more aimed at
Yes.
Rescue Bots,
Yeah.
which I think it was a good thing because it then splits you off to go. We can kind of start to, we know the toy lines already had that aspect of Generations being more for the adult collector, more for
Mm,
the collector of the original stuff, and then you had the kind of bits. Prime did manage to have a bit of both.
yeah.
It was clearly the cartoon of the year. That was the cartoon they were trying to push for their main toy line, but it certainly didn't feel like a kids' cartoon, like at any point. And I've had Jamie watch every Transformers cartoon bar Prime because I wanted to wait till he was old enough that he would engage with it enough that he would want to watch it all.
Mm.
And I think we're going to. I've told him that we're going to get him watching the first couple on our. I think I worked out. I've got a 9, 10, 17. I've got 18 hours worth of driving next weekend with Jamie. So I reckon he could rattle through a good chunk of Prime in that time. Um, and I really, I said to him, why don't you, when we're driving down, watch the first five? I'll watch the first five this week before we go, and then you watch them, and then we get something to proper talk about in that kind of journey. Because I do think he's now at the age where he'll appreciate Prime. I
Mm.
do think that if I showed it to Sean, who's 6, I think he would struggle. I think he would be like, a bit too much. But I
Yeah.
mean, I might misreading it. But Prime is certainly a fantastic cartoon. And interestingly, the toys weren't. It wasn't a right. Here's the toys and here's a cartoon at the same time. Because last year was when the toys, sorry, the cartoon launched with the 5 episodes. The toy line launches this year, but again, it doesn't even launch with a everything's on the shelf. It goes with the a really interesting approach with the first edition
Mm,
figures.
yeah.
It was a. I'd love to know what their mindset was. Did they not think they'd be popular? What was the bit? Because they flew off shelves and were very hard to get hold of and very sought after.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about it in the toy section, but I think I don't know. You're right. It is a slightly weird way of doing it because they must have had the toys in production or in the design phase or at least something before
Yeah.
Comic Con. So it would be interesting to find out exactly what the
Mhm.
thinking of was there.
So our kind of visual media. We did have comics. There was nothing massive, and that's not to say take anything away from the comics that were produced at that point in time. But there was some groundbreaking comics from IDW through the run. This was just one of their quieter years. There was nothing that like jumped out to me as going, like last year we talked about, or last week we talked about Last Stand of Records, which uh, arguably one of the kind of best bits. Then very soon we're going to come on to more of Meets the Eye. So they definitely absolutely smashed some outstanding comics. It just Death of Optimus Prime
I
was
was going
pretty
to say
good.
Death of Optimus Prime. I think is the probably the most
It's,
significant part of
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
where he didn't actually
Oh
die.
no, sadly he comes back. Who wants Prime? Nobody really wants Prime. Does anybody want Prime? Nah. So that's it kind of from a media kind of standpoint. So let's talk about toys. And as we said last week, we were going to change it up. So previously we would bring up the full slides of all the bits and we chat through them all. Last week we kind of started to do a wee bit of both, where we instead of doing that, we're going to kind of pick on our top toys. We're going to talk about what toy lines there were,
Hmm.
but just the sheer volume, has become overwhelming.
Yeah.
I'm sure for the listeners as well, it was like, oh man, are we talking about RPMs again? And are we talking about activators that are a bit naff? Like, there was just so many sublines and so many things that just take away that actually um, we were losing focus on what we were here to do. We're here to talk about each year, not just focus on the toys, but the toys became so overwhelming that at one point, as we said, we changed on to doing 2 episodes just to keep the toys in check. But actually, toys only tell a small part of the franchise. Well, no, it's not true. They tell a big part of the franchise, but they don't necessarily need to be the whole episode. The the toys and the cartoons and the media all go hand in hand. So it's better that we kind of try and give them all their own same kind of level of focus rather. It's not as if we went through every episode, every cartoon in detail. Why we were kind of doing that with toys and kind of going too much. So that's why we've kind of changed onto this route. So let me talk you through the lines of toys from this year. So we have Dark of the Moon toys. Do you want me to tell you how many toys there was for each one? So I can that's
Yeah,
fine.
I just mentally totted up how many toys there is in total, but yeah, go for it.
3 billion. That was just 2010. So 89 toys in the year for the Dark of the Moon line. There's a Cyberverse line. There's 40 in that. The RPMs and speeds are 31 toys. Reveal the Shield has 24 toys. Now, these are some are going to be deluxe, some are leader, like the
Yeah, yeah.
classes aspect. Then we have Rescue Bots toys. We still have crossovers. Like what?
I
I
swear
I
they only
do
came
not
from.
remember. I don't remember it being at this long.
I swear they were like 2 years, but it seems like I mean Star Wars crossovers. I think we're pushing towards a decade.
It's frightening. Like I genuinely don't. There's no part of me thought that was the case. So that's kind of fun. And when we get to crossovers, like I picked, sorry, our top fives, I picked crossover this year.
You
Not
did,
just
but
not an obvious crossover, however. So it's acceptable. Creo line. Like I was a big fan of Creo. I
mm,
literally just pulled out my is it San Diego? They did the kind of yearbook ones where you open up and it's
mm,
like I've got the second one of them. I got in a clearance sale years ago, and I've never ever put it in display anywhere. I literally got it because it was cheap, and I was like, "Oh, this is great. Let's put it in a box." Nothing about it, but I put it out recently, and I thought, "These are actually kind of fun." We have Generations. We have the first 9 toys from Transformers Prime. We still have Power Core Combiners for the Sins. Um, we have third party kind of moving on, and we'll do a wee bit on the third party stuff. We are because there's only a handful of toys, and the issue we have with third party is we know of a handful of toys. There's probably more, so forgive us if when we talk about them, you go. By the way, X toy came out in that year. It may well have, but try to find records of this kind of information, and it is not very easy. And then Masterpiece is a whopping 1 toy, which is crazy to think of because we're about to get into the era of the is it Hatsue era where it's the smaller cars and Once that sideswipe mold comes out, then it's like off to the races. Masterpiece goes crazy. So one Masterpiece toy seems mental. So a fair few toys there. And I want to start with Simon's confusing me because he's just remembering something important about this year
It's only
that,
a little thing.
that both of us have not really clicked on, but so we'll talk about it in a
It's
minute.
fine.
So
We'll talk about it.
I am going to throw in a curveball when we talk about top five. So we've done whenever we mention crossover is go, oh my God, some of the crossover are freaking terrible. And they were. Like some of them are awful. How many times do the pictures come up and you and I are like,
Yeah,
more?
yeah,
What are you
pretty
doing to
much.
us, Hasbro? Do you not like us anymore? Are we not your favorite child? And the irony is that there's some great crossovers now, but there's a crossover comes out and it's a kind of kickstart. They did a couple of these, and it's the San Diego GI Joe crossover where they took the Sky Striker and they repainted them as Starscream. So it's not a transforming Starscream; it's just a repaint of the Sky Striker, but it comes with a Cobra Commander. But it's gorgeous, and
That's
the
so
box art
nice.
on it. The box art's made to look like a big, massive comic. And I always loved the idea of G.I. Joe crossovers. Like, I've always loved the comics. The idea of them sharing a universe is fantastic. I think the new stuff that we're actually getting now, I've really enjoyed them all. I know they're not for everybody's,
Mm.
like, the Bumblebee's probably the weakest. That's only because for me it's Bumblebee. I thought the Megatron was great. Like, it's a great hiss tank, fun big toy, big chunky toy. Soundwave was fabulous. I've not picked up the Sergeant Slaughter's one, the Cup one yet, but
Mm.
I think they're good fun toys. Like, just back to what a toy should be, rather than having to be super accurate or super posable. It's just a
Yeah.
big bulky toy. But this thing just was gorgeous, and I saw it last year at TF Nation, and I was so because they had this and they had the Shockwave fish tank one, which is even better. Like, it's freaking gorgeous. And I was like, but it would have took it pretty much all my budget for a whole weekend. And I was like, I love these, but I don't have I only need to buy these this whole weekend, like kind of bit, and where we're putting them and what we're doing. But it was absolutely stunning.
Yeah, it's definitely one that's on my sort of dream wish list. It's such a fun figure, and I've said before I've got a big love for GI Joe. I've got an absolute ton of the classified stuff, and I've got a few of the more recent versions of the 3/4 inch figures, and that toy would just fit in so well. I love it, but one day maybe.
I have to say, after with the more recent crossovers coming out, it makes me think even more that would look nice. Like, actually, as much as say that the Sky Striker would be nice, the Shockwave his tank's even nicer. But really don't need to go and hunt for these toys. Like, add to my ever growing list at this podcast YouTube series is costing me an arm and a leg, in a really really fun way. So let's kick on to your first pick then.
Okay, so we were going through sort of roughly in the same order that the lines that we mentioned earlier. So I'm going for some Dark of the Moon stuff, and this is the year that they really started to delve into the Legends scale kind of stuff with the Cyberverse line, and you had two different classes of Cyberverse. You had Legends and Commanders, I believe. Might have been something else. But Commanders were the slightly bigger ones, the slightly more complex ones. And there's like an Optimus Prime and there was a Pegatron and blah, 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 blah. But they also did a couple of G1 inspired characters in Guzzle and Powerglide. And Powerglide is my pick. He is absolutely awesome. I love this figure. It was the first mini bot sized G1-esque because he looked more G1 than Bayverse. He transformed
Oh, aye,
like
it does, it does.
his old version, and he does very much look like a modernized version of the original toy. I love him. He's an excellent little figure. So yeah, he is
I
my
100% agreement with you. Great wee
yeah.
figure.
And he's red rather than grey for some reason, and not Voyager glass like the last version of Powerglide
Yeah,
we got.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what you got
And
next? Oh, sorry.
but
Yep.
quickly, the guzzle's nice as well. The
Oh,
guzzle's
Guzzle!
kind of fun wearing as well.
I so nearly picked Guzzle. Guzzle's actually just a
He-
really, really nice toy. He's so
yes,
cool.
yes. Yeah, he was on my kind of possibilities as well. So yeah. So then we'll go to mine, and this is where I picked one as a representation of three. As I said, the Wreckers coming in, I really enjoyed them. Like they're not the Wreckers you expect from the comics, of course they're not. They're never going to be. But I just thought it was a good fun nod to the Transformers UK comic. I thought it was really good. I didn't have a lot of UK comics when I was growing up, but I picked up the stuff later on, and Wreckers always stood out. I think Wreckers stands out to most UK fans. So I've picked Roadbuster because I think he's the nicest of the three, but I enjoyed all three. Like I have to say, I enjoyed all three
Yeah,
of the toys.
is that the deluxe one you picked there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah. They're great, yeah. Um, as I recall, it took them a while to bring out Leadfoot.
yes,
They did the other two quite quickly, and then Leadfoot took forever to come out.
yeah.
Leadfoot was my favorite of the three. I really, really loved him because he's just this
Dad
big,
bod.
chonky dad bod. Yeah, exactly. Um, sort of Energon Prime vibes. But yeah, he's just such a cool character, a cool looking figure, and bright red, which is just always awesome. But the Human Alliance version of these figures, both of them, they didn't do the other one, Roadbuster, Leadfoot. I can't remember what the other one was called. Jeff. I'm going to
The
call him
blue
Jeff
one,
for now. Um,
Jeff.
yeah.
My name is Jeff.
Uh, oh, it's Topspin, Twin Twist.
Tops. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That
Top,
I don't know actually because we're going to use one of those names. Use the other. Anyway,
yeah.
that's neither there.
But anyway, yeah, yeah. The Human Alliance versions were spot on. Really, really nice figures. My next pick is sticking with Dark of the Moon. As I mentioned earlier, my favorite character of all of the Bayverse versions of Transformers was not Prime, but Ironhide, and we got a leader class Ironhide this year, which make a lot more sense than a leader class Bumblebee, although they do another leader class Bumblebee this year.
In the
Actually, no, it
bin.
is the
Get in the
first one.
bin,
Oh, I
Bumblebee.
just don't.
Bumblebee, get in
Um,
the bin.
but yeah, I mean, scale is meaningless with Transformers movie figures anyway. But the Ironhide leader class figure, he's such a lovely, lovely figure. Apart from the fact he is almost impossible to get to stay standing up, or at least my copy was. But yeah, he's just a great representation of the character. He'd always pop out weapons. He had a pop out knife, which was pretty cool. And he looked really good in both modes, and had a little talky thing. He was cool. Yeah. So
He was. I've got him as well. And I remember picking him up, just thinking, going, "This is what the toy we should have had from the beginning." But I was like,
yeah.
a brilliant toy.
So your next pick.
My next pick, we're going to go off of Dark of the Moon, and we are going to move into Reveal the Shield. Like I've talked about how much I love the idea of the Reveal the Shield, like just from the heat sink heat. Oh, what do you call them? I was going to say
Rub
heat
Signs.
transfers. Yeah, rub signs, rub signs. That's the one. Thank you very much. This one was one that I have had for years, and I'm going to admit that I didn't really. I picked it up because I have the previous repaint of it, and I love the original one. And we talked about it last week. This one, I have only in the last, I think, probably 6 months, realized how freaking amazing it is because it has been in robot mode for from pretty much from I got it, and I have never really transformed it and realized. And it is Reveal the Shield Strafe, who, when you transform him into his jet mode, has big Autobot symbols printed over his wings, and it is cool as anything. And it was listening, I was literally driving home from work, listening to Triple Takeover, and Liam picked it as his kind of bot that nobody really kind of what's it called? Hidden Gems. Picked it as Hidden Gem bot, and I was like, what? And I literally drove in, went, wife, give me a minute, went, got my box, found it, brought it out, transformed it, and I have suddenly got such a love for this thing. It is now pride and place in the collection, and I'm just like, how did I not? And I genuinely, I must have realized at the time, must have surely. But then I go, if I did, why did I not pick up on it? I think I just thought it was just a, I don't know, but it is actually so cool because it's such a funky thing, and
Yeah,
it's
no,
such an embarrassing thing to see. I didn't. I only realised that recently, having owned it from 2011.
when you just said that, I went back and looked at the picture I've got that I'm going to put up later, to see the wings because I'd never noticed it before either.
And it's
So
so
that's fine.
cool.
But
It's
I've never
great.
owned him, so I've got at least that excuse.
You've
Hmm.
I don't know that. So,
Uh,
what's your next toy then?
my next toy is surprisingly, I have got an Optimus Prime in this pick.
Oh,
Um, and it is Reveal the Shield Legends Class Optimus Prime. Um, Now, there's a few reasons why. I mean, A, it's just an awesome little figure. He's just a really cool little representation of Prime. He sort of transforms almost the same as the G1 version. He's got a cool little truck mode. He's got a cool little robot mode, and he's just a really nice, tight, awesome little dude. He doesn't have much posability because he's a Legends class figure. Um, but I I own. I don't know how many of this figure.
the
I
great
just
figure it
I just
is.
picked them up. I've got like one on my desk at work. I've got one just up on the shelf here. I've got like two or three in the cabinet. I've got another one in another room somewhere. I just pick them up randomly. There are a couple of variations, which is why I've got a couple of different ones in the cabinet. But I mean, this used to be when I used to play poker with my mates. This I used to have him along as my mascot. Um, the original one I've got is so worn because I it's just a fiddle bot. I just
Yeah,
transform him constantly. But yeah, anyway, I absolutely love this version of Optimus Prime. He's just one of my favorite things in the world, and I love him. Mm.
my son's got one as well because I'm the same as you. I have a love for that wee toy, just a great wee toy.
Just
And
awesome.
on that, I have also went for a Reveal Seal Legend toy, and I went for Megatron. And I think now, if I say this and then you go, you're an idiot, you've forgot about X, then sue me. I think this is the last Hasbro gun Megatron.
I think you are correct. I'm not going to dispute you on this
And
one.
I think it's a fun toy. Like first and foremost, I think it's a fun toy. But I think there's then some has to be said for the fact that this is the last time that they were able to produce
Yeah.
a gun Megatron, and obviously it's not scale where you can hold it and run it about with it or anything like that. However, I think it holds a special place because of that.
Hmm.
It's got a stupid orange cap because clearly that kind of size Legends gun is going to look like a real gun. So let's say, but I thoroughly enjoy it, and again, like you, I actually have him and the Optimus team together because they're just kind of fun. They're really just fun little bots,
Yeah.
you kind of fun fiddle bots. So that was my fourth pick. Is that right? Yeah, fourth pick. What's
Yeah. Oh,
yours?
my fourth one is I'm going to the Generations line, and you know how I always complain about them doing mini bots in different scales. Uh, well, my pick for this year is Generations Warpath. Um, okay, yeah, he's not a mini bot. There is a mini bot version of him that came out in Legends
Yeah,
line
yeah,
a couple of years ago, which is also really cool. But this figure, he's so cool.
he's
He's
brilliant.
such an awesome robot mode, such an awesome tank mode. He's got really cool, fun transformation features. He's just an awesome toy.
Agree,
I haven't
agree.
actually had one for a wee while, but um, I remember picking up that wave of Generations. I went into Toys R Us to have a look, and they had all of the wave in just sat there on the shelf. Um, and I bought the whole wave in one go.
I
And
missed
my
that.
my
I have to say, I really missed that.
so
I,
miss that.
it's good fun. Like I talked earlier on, I had loads of toys delivered this week. That is amazing fun, right? Like I'm not gonna lie, but there's a different feeling than getting into Toys R Us, specifically toys. Well, Smiths is still as good to be fair, like when it comes
Yeah,
to
yeah,
getting those.
yeah.
But getting in and getting a full complete wave of something and taking them and going, oh,
Absolutely.
and I've not had that on Transformers for so long because I am in the pre-order it, make sure you get it. I don't
Yeah.
really go to the stores anymore, and I often think I'll never do it now, not with the prime time. Like it'll never happen again, sadly, and I'm aware of that. But I enjoy it when I get to do it with other things. Like I did it with the movie Turtles reissues this year, and it was like I bought all four. I went in, so we get all four and take them off shelf, and it was like, oh, it's great! I got all four. That's amazing. And I missed that. I missed that era. I missed
Yeah,
that era. Reveal the Shield was probably the last one I really remember having that feel to it of going a bit of physical toy store hunting to try and get the toys.
yeah.
Um, and what a sensation when you walked in, they had the one you wanted. So yeah, I think that adds a little bit to your joy of the toy now when you
Oh,
reflect
definitely.
back of the
Yeah,
how
yeah,
you
yeah.
got it stuff. So yeah, no, that's a great choice because that's a fantastic figure. Like really stands up as a really nice figure.
There's some really good ones in the Generations and Reveal the Shield line this year. I mean, we haven't picked any of the others in our favourites, but I could have easily have gone Wheeljack. Wheeljack's an amazing figure. Um, the Laser Optimus Prime I really like. And Perceptor. There's a really cool Perceptor toy that turned into that little half track thing. That was awesome. And then there's a
I was so close to picking Perceptor, because it is just great. And it's got a wee bit of a nod to his IDW kind
yeah,
of sharpshooter style to
yeah,
him.
yeah,
Great toy. Like were spoiled without realizing we were spoiled.
yeah, yeah. Right, so yours.
Right, let's kick on to again. We've kind of done it the same kind of way where we've kind of gone into a different toy line. And I kind of wanted to try and do that as well. I think it's good to kind of just go. Let's not just all do reveal the shield because that would be too boring. Um, the Prime First Edition toys, like the ones I've handled, I've not been disappointed with any of them.
No.
But I have to pick Bulkhead because Bulkhead's amazing. I have the original Prime First Edition Bulkhead. I then have three different versions of the APC releases
Mm.
because they're slightly different color or they're shinier. I love Bulkhead. Like easily my favorite of the modern character that's been introduced. Both versions, both animated and Prime, are absolutely fantastic. This is definitely his best Prime toy. Um, the leader animated one's the best Bulkhead toy of all time. But this Prime First Edition, and again, the First Edition stuff was brilliant. Pain in the arse to get a hold of. Like I only have this now because my friend, um, who used to be real into collecting Transformers, he had managed to finally get one. I always was jealous, and when he got out of collecting, I said I'd help sell them, and he was like, "Do you want to keep this rather than sell it?" And I was like, "Yes, very much so." And the annoying bit is I then literally within like 2 weeks, the first of the APC bulkheads came in. I was like, I've not really had the excitement, but being able to finally get a hold of that Prime first that first edition Prime bulkhead was just like, I get it. I really get why there was such a rigmarole. Only because he had got bulkhead and I had got Optimus Prime when they were out. Because we managed to get a wee kind of a deal together, and it was only one of each, and it was like who's getting what, and I let him pick bulkhead because he'd sourced them. So I took Optimus Prime. So, but the bulkheads, fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, I didn't have any of the Reveal the Shield, sorry, Reveal the Shields, first edition figures to start out with. I got them all a fair bit further down the line. Well, most of them. I didn't end up with all of them. But Bulkhead, I always wanted it. The normal line one, which we'll get to next year, is good, but he's not a patch on the other one.
No, he's not.
Um, but yes, we'll move on to my figure as we're still talking about exactly the same line and a figure we've already mentioned. It is Prime First Edition Optimus Prime, and again, like you, I've got the original version. They did a American reissue. I think I might have the reissue one. I can't remember. Um, but anyway, I've got that one. The APC toys, I've got a couple of, I think I've got two or three of the variations of that because they did one that was like metallic, they did one that was just like the original, and they did a transparent one. I've got the transparent one and I've got the original transparent one that they did. I think it was a Comic Con exclusive or something a couple of years later. Um, but he's a great figure. Again, like the other rest of the first edition stuff, the bot mode is amazing. The alt mode is amazing. It's a really good representation of the character in that show. So awesome. Um, but yeah, that's all I've got to say about those.
But
Now,
you made a point of when I've
yeah,
picked our top fives, and can I just say, like this must be a great year for somebody like you, like Optimus Primes. You have talked about, two in your top five and two stonkingly good Optimus Primes in your top five. You've
Yeah,
talked about a third that could have been in there with the Laser Prime, which
easily.
again is another fantastic Prime. Um, but we have purposely, well,
It
let's say it
wasn't
purposely,
purposely.
missed off one of the best Optimus Prime toys ever released.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, I didn't include the Japanese Takara releases in the list of figures, and the masterpiece figure that came out this year in America was the Rodimus Prime toy, or the Rodimus
Well,
wasn't
it
the
was
it
yeah,
was
because I
yeah,
guess
it's
it's
Rodimus.
the hot rod more because
Yeah,
it's not got the trailer, which was
yeah,
a shame. Wait, what? It obviously still works,
yeah,
but it's slightly different paint. Like I've got both of them, but it was a shame not having the trailer. But
yeah. But in Japan, they did also have a few other figures that came out, two versions of the Rodimus Prime, and a little figure called Masterpiece Optimus Prime MP10, which is, of course, not at all significant in any way, shape, or form. Hasn't had 400,000 variations since. Um, and we'll talk about it more when it gets its American release, which I think is next year or possibly the year after.
I
Uh,
think I've got it in my head it's 2013, and only because I got it in 2013, like
yeah,
literally maybe Jamie was, I'm sure I was on paternity leave when it arrived, and my
yeah,
mother-in-law gave me dirty looks of, you've bought a big expensive toy when your wife's not working and you've got a child on. I was like, yeah, but it's Optimus Prime. And
yeah.
my wife, there was always significant toys that were acceptable. These kind of have always been acceptable. That was one of them. But yeah, that's
But yeah, so I mean, that was worth mentioning, even though it's not technically um, one of the toys we've covered. But yeah, significant release on that one.
do you have the Japanese version?
I actually don't. I've got I've, how many MP10s have I got there? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10, 11. I've got 11 versions of him, but none of them are the Japanese
But
uh,
I'm
MP10.
from what I remember, so there's a few of them where I bought the Japanese and US version of Soundwave, of Grimlock, of Rodimus. I didn't do the Prime, but my understanding was they were pretty much the exact same.
Yeah,
Like other than the other ones. I mean, Soundwave was the same, but with more cassettes. Grimlock was pretty much the same. Like it was really just Rodimus was obviously a huge difference.
yeah.
But I bought Rodimus and Grimlock just because they're cheaper. Soundwave I bought because I'm a freaking idiot. But the Prime certainly I recall it being, I was confident enough that it's like that's going to be pretty much the exact same. I think it was. I can't really, but I'm just looking at pictures of the Japanese one. But
I think it's more or less identical. I don't remember there being any significant differences apart from the box, really.
was it the same year? And I say was it? I know it was, but I'm just going to pretend I don't. Was it the same? They did the this is the last ever Masterpiece Optimus Prime with MP1, last version of MP1, last version, and then it was like a matter of months, and they went, "Oh, look, we got a shiny new one."
Yeah, pretty much. And also, it's the first bot of the second era of Masterpiece. We should have talked about this more because that then ushered in the more to scale figures that came subsequent to that. So Masterpiece scale became a thing more because Megatron and Prime and Starscream were the main ones, and Grimlock were the main ones before that, but their scale was all over the place. And then after that, you've got the car bots and everything else, and their alt modes are pretty much in scale, and their robot modes are pretty much in scale, more or less to the
I,
to the cartoon.
I always felt that Grimlock scales more with MP10 than he scales with
Yes,
MP1.
yeah,
So I always
100%.
I but I don't know if what I feel with. I'm just thinking of what I think MP9 scales more with. I think the MP9 scales more with MP1. Like just on my own, like I'm not saying that they're. released to do X, Y, Z. I think personally, I think MP9's scale, which is your Rodimus proper, I think he
Mm.
scales more with Optimus than he does with sorry, Optimus MP1 than he
Yeah,
does
yeah,
with
definitely,
MP10.
definitely.
Because you also do a new Hot Rod as well. But Grimlock, I remember even thinking when he came out, he was just a wee bit small for
Yeah.
MP1.
Well,
But the where he's the kind of skills better with the MP10.
yeah, I think the Masterpiece line didn't really have a scale per se to start off with. It was more, here are some really cool
Yeah,
versions of Transformers. And it's a bit weird that MP9 came out the same year as MP10 and was the last of that ilk.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, he does not scale with MP10. He definitely does not scale with the rest of the
no,
Carbots moving forward. He's
no.
gigantic
And
compared to the rest of them.
I do think you're right. I think I know we're not doing the every line, but this is the point where Masterpiece really kicks off. I
Mm.
think it'd be wrong at this point to kind of ignore because there's some absolutely amazing Masterpiece toys that never see a US release. So
Yeah.
I know we've really focused on the US stuff or the Western release. We talked obviously UK stuff as well, but the Western stuff rather than the Japanese because if we added the Japanese, it would be even more horrific.
Yeah.
But I think as we go forward, obviously we're adding in more about talk third party. We'll add in a bit of the Masterpiece because I think Masterpiece is the longest running line.
Yeah.
Realistically, like I know Transformers is a line, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
also sublines of chugs and stuff. But
Well,
Masterpiece is a line, and yes, okay, it's had wee bits of size and of toon accurate or versus toy accurate, but Masterpiece still be Masterpiece up until they've changed to MPG. Just that's a numbering thing, really.
Masterpiece started in 2003, so it's already what 8, 9 years old at this point. So yeah. Uh, I mean, it's still going now. Well, no, it's technically stopped now, isn't it?
It
Technically.
is. It is, but it's also cool because it started with an Optimus Prime, finishes with an Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not stopped. It's just renumbering. It's just a change in numbers because MPG like they're still going to be the same. There's
Yeah.
parts of Power Master Prime are coming out in Master as an MP, and some are coming out as MPG. It's nothing to do. Like I know there's lots of talk of scale, blah blah blah, but it's not. It's just to do with numbering. I don't really get why. Like nobody's ever really explained it, but it doesn't really matter. Like once it's on my shelf, I don't care what number it was.
Yeah.
Only Soundwave's the only one. Always makes me happy because he was MP13, and 13's my lucky number. And having my favorite character released as that number was just like perfect, perfect. So then let's touch on third party. So third party this year, and again, please, we might not get it right. We have 7 toys. I'm not going to go through them all. I'm going to pick you my 3 favorite from this line because it's a set of 3 that just were absolutely fantastic. And that is Fans Projects, CA03 Thundershred, CA04 Storm Bomb, and CA05 Black Fury. And it's the Insecticons in a kind of funky ninja style. They come with proper little cool ass metal weapons. They are just fabulous. They do not look, they do not fit in with anything I collect. I have never not been on my shelf. I absolutely love them. They're just so posable, so cool, and so funky.
Mm.
And Fans Project, it's so funny to think that at this point, Fans Project were pinnacle, and then now everybody else is not so much.
Yeah. It's almost a shame. Fans Project stuff was amazing, but yeah, they don't really they're not really thought about that much anymore,
Yeah, I know.
which is a
It's
shame.
a shame. It's a shame. But that's been our look back at 2011. It has been an incredible journey. Like so many really cool things in there. So many cool aspects of the franchise kick off in this point. As you say, the masterpiece is a huge bit. MP10 changing us around. Thank you so much, Simon, for joining me today and going
No, it's
through this look through. We hope you have all enjoyed this episode. We ask you to like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, make sure you don't miss anything as we go through each year of this franchise. And remember, we do produce multiple weekly episode things. We have loads of wee shorts. We've got our Talking Robots Tuesdays. We've got some reviews. We've got some extra bits. We're now on Tiki Talkie through Oddimus Prime, where we are exploring out. We have got some fantastic stuff getting released this month with talking tunes, loads of stuff to keep you amused and have fun and keep you interested in PTTV. So make sure you kind of keep an eye on it. But thank you so much, and we'll see you again in the next one.
Bye.